they're, like I said, newly minted money sluts. They're like, you know what we need? We need to make our own newspaper because Victoria will not stop. And in her head this whole time, she's like, I kind of want to run for president.
That's right. Oh, I just remembered that was the entire point of this tab from the beginning.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to 500 Open Tabs. I'm Hannah Hillam.
And I'm Kaveh Taherian. Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
What a week, huh, Hannah? Last week was Halloween. This week, hell continues.
Yeah. I think it's still Halloween. It's still the season of death. I don't know, man. We voted. I'm assuming you voted yesterday.
Yeah. So for those of you who may be listening to this in the far future, we're we're releasing this episode the day after the 2024 election.
Yeah.
It is we don't know.
Election.
Every election has been the most important election of our lives. Yeah. We don't know which way it's going. We don't know what today's going to be. We don't know who's going to win or who's not going to win or if votes need to be counted. I assume it's going to be like last time where they're going to have to count votes for like days on end. Yeah. The way that the polling sounds like it's going to be close. I don't imagine they're going to call it tonight, the last night. But I don't know. We don't know. We're guessing. But we decided that because everything is hell and life is terrible and this election, like every election, makes us want to unalive ourselves, that we should do an election-themed episode, or I should say government politics type thing themed. You can chime in at any point here, Hannah, if you'd like. Unless you want to
sorry.
fall asleep.
I was letting you just do this because this is your podcast.
What am I, you at the table? Telling everybody about my podcast.
There was San Diego Comic-Con
and New York.
You
did it a little bit at New York, but not as much. San Diego, you were off the rails.
I was like, by off the rails, he means I kept accidentally saying, you should listen to my podcast. And he'd be
accidentally, in air quotes.
And he'd be like, yeah, listen to her podcast.
And listen to her podcast.
Your podcast. And he said that for 4 straight days. I think I messed up like 4 times, maybe.
No, you kept doing it every day. That's why I said it for 4 straight days. It's because you kept saying my podcast. At no point did you correct.
I definitely corrected, because I can't remember if you just like to hammer jokes in forever and ever, and which ones.
I've never done that in my entire life. Not once.
No. Anyway, welcome to my podcast, everybody. Today we're going to talk about politics, but in a fun way.
Political way, political stuff. We've prepped our tabs in advance. I'm excited to do mine. I think I realized late before we started recording, I was like, oh, you know what? I've been having guest hosts on, and then you were gone, and I was like, oh, I think you're going to blah, blah, blah. Did I go first last week? I can't remember.
I have no idea.
I have no idea either by the time that we recorded this.
Oh, the Halloween episode? Yes, you went first.
I went first. Okay, so in that case, you should go, unless I should go, whatever you want to do.
No, I can go first.
Okay.
This is I really had to rein it in, by the way, with this one, because of course I did the thing where I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy, and it wasn't. So I'm going to start with that. I still haven't learned. Also, I haven't recorded in a month, so forgive me. Yeah, I don't know how to do this anymore.
Who said you knew how to do it from the beginning? The truth comes out.
How dare you? All right, so this election's crazy, right? And so I was like, no, I mean, not this election. Sorry, I take it back. This election was great. Everything went how we wanted.
Normcore as shit.
We're not watching the world fall apart on our screens before our face. No. It's fine. So I was thinking, what other elections were off the rails? Because, this can't be the first insane one. Turns out it is probably the most insane one. But there was a crazy one, too, that happened in 1872. Okay. So the election of 1872 was an interesting one for many reasons. The first being that President Grant beat Horace Greeley with a massive margin because Horace Greeley straight up died before the votes were counted.
Horace Greeley.
He looks like
Greeley.
He looks like he's being propped up in all these photos. He looks like he's
Weekend at Greeley's.
Weekend at Greeley's, except it's it looks like he just looks rough, you know? Anyway, he died. And 3 delegates still tried to elect a corpse.
Of course they would.
Yeah, why would everyone hated Grant? He was so corrupt, apparently. I mean, what's new? And so they still tried to elect a corpse to the presidency, but they were stopped because they're like, technically he's not alive, so we can't have a corpse for president. on account of him being dead.
Listen, corpses being president, I'm okay with it. They're just more of a figurehead. They just sit there. They don't bother anyone. They don't weigh in on bad things.
My goal is to become the United States' very first corpse president.
Listen, this is just what the neoliberals wanted. They're like, just let the corpse run everything. So there's no regulation or opinion or thought or editorial, anything. Just let it happen.
Just an old guy shuffling around on stage.
Might as well be a dead body in charge. That's what they want.
Just exactly. Put sunglasses on him, call it good.
Call it a good.
Well, now we do actually elect corpses, but this was the first time someone tried to do that. And
democratically elected corpses, let's admit. This is some delegate bullshit.
Right? Well, let's just
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. I'm just making.
Give me a second. Let me get to it. Believe women.
Corpses.
Hashtag believe corpses. Hashtag yes, all corpses. Hashtag corpse rights.
Greeley? What was his name?
Oh, I don't care.
Weekend at Greeley's.
Weekend at Greeley's. He just dies, right? Just dead. And everyone's like, oh no. And because he died, his party, the liberal Republicans, which is hilarious sounding, were like, they collapsed because no one cared anymore. And they divided up and gave Grant a landslide victory because he was alive, which
it's a pretty unfair advantage.
If you got that going for you. But aside from Greeley,
living privilege.
Hashtag no more hashtags. I'm not
hashtag's not even a thing anymore. Like we're dating ourselves for like 15 years making hashtag jokes.
What do people do anymore? They just
I don't know, just stare at TikTok like they're like iPad kids at the restaurant, just like TikTok.
I want someone to unplug all of it.
Unalive us.
There it is.
Corpse
unplug us. Make me a corpse. Do whatever you want. Make me president. I don't care. Roll me into the bog. I would love that. I'm yelling.
Just make me president.
Here's what happens. I die. Wheel me into the Oval Office. Take some pictures. Take some pictures. You can be in there. You can make my hand go like this, like thumbs up. I'm weary, dude.
This presidential campaign.
I'm weary.
I can see the ads now. Hannah Hillam. She's dead. That's her slogan.
Hannah's dead serious about income president. Inequality. Hannah's dead serious about workers' rights.
Yeah, Hannah's rival breathes oxygen and is blood flowing through the
He still requires food and air. Vote Hillam. Oh,
a vote for Hillam is a vote for death.
A vote for Hillam is a vote for kill him. Kill him.
Kill him. Oh, kill him, Hillam.
She'll kill him. She's Hillam.
This is the worst presidential campaign of all time.
No. I'm going to be the first dead female president. All right.
And I will be your Lee Atwater, making sure you get elected.
Thank you. That's the least you can do on my podcast. All right.
Unhinged. Back. We're back.
I'm normal. This is normal. Aside from Greeley, another candidate caused some issues by being arrested 3 days before the election. And this candidate was arrested by federal officers who came to their house and arrested 3 people, including the candidate. And they were imprisoned for 1 month. The person who was arrested was Victoria Woodhull, the first woman to run for president, 50 years before the vote for women actually was passed. So Victoria Woodhull, this lady is nuts. She's nuts, dude. Why? Why are you laughing? Did you do this
Woodhull?
one too? I know, Woodhull. It's Woodhull. Woodhull.
Oh, like Hull.
I can't even say anything to you. Woodhull. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll be worse. Okay, I'll be worse. I promise. By the way, listeners, this is coming off the New York Comic Con trip where we might have some manic energy. Okay, so Victoria Woodhull. She was born the 7th of 10 children in Homer, Ohio, to 2 traveling grifters named Reuben and Roxy Claflin. All right. Oh, yeah.
She saw some 1800s ass names.
You have no idea how.
I'm Ruben, and this is my wife, Roxy, and we're a couple of hustlers trying to get you some snake oil that you need.
I was just about to say her father was a physically violent snake oil salesman.
Yep, they all are.
And her mother was an illiterate clairvoyant who was really into spiritualism. So
interesting.
These two are like, what's the musical you hate? The people that are like,
all of them.
What are they? The guys, the French ones.
You're gonna have to be more specific than that.
Les Mis, the guys.
Les Mis. You know, famous. My favorite song from that show.
Master of the House. Help. You're not even going to tell me.
I don't know. I only watched it one time, and then I immediately deleted it from my brain.
I'm jealous of you. Like those ones, everyone's like, it's this. It's like half of our listeners are from musical splaining, and they're so mad right now. They're like, you know.
Was that a song from? Honestly, I don't remember.
Master of the House.
Oh, I don't remember. I legitimately don't remember.
We have to move on. Okay.
Grifter parents, snake oil salesman, and a clairvoyant. So Ruben and Roxy.
Yes. Roxy was a follower of Franz Mesmer, which is where we get the word mesmerize or mesmerizing.
I don't know anything about him.
Because he was like this guy who did that. They named it after him. He was a medium. He was so hot. I'm just kidding. I have no idea what he looks like. Because grifters are going to grift no matter what. Her family moved constantly. They started off in Ohio, and then they burned down their own barn. Make sure the dad made sure he insured it really well.
Yeah,
burned down the barn, and
thankfully the mother knew that this was going to happen because she was clairvoyant. She knew that
she knew. And then they went to collect the insurance money, and everyone's like, "This is so obvious. You just took insurance out on it like last week, you psycho." And he got
just in time.
Just perfect timing.
Yeah.
And then he was run out of town by his neighbors. And so his family's like, we need our dad or whatever. And the majority of the town was like, no, you don't. And they had a fundraiser to earn money to pay for the rest of the Claflin family to also leave Ohio. So they were like,
I don't understand. You've raised funds to throw them out? Can't you just throw them out?
They all hate them. Well, how are they going to get anywhere without a train ticket or whatever?
You just push them into the train, I think. You said there's 10 kids, right?
Yeah. So they're like, let's have a fundraiser to get these guys out of our hair. So they traveled the country.
How do we get that? We should do that for podcasting. How do we get people to give us money so that we stop podcasting and we finally become rich?
I think we have to do true crime.
Oh, no.
We just got solemn.
I was like, that just got
real solemn. Oh. Anyway, so they traveled the country.
Guess we're not pursuing that. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
No, I don't want to. I'm sick of true crime.
I don't want to either. Yeah, fine. I agree.
I'm out of my mind right now.
I'm perfectly calm. Perfectly calm.
You're so normal right now.
I'm just enjoying being on someone else's podcast for once. It's great.
Thanks for taking time out of your busy day to guest on this podcast.
So happy to be a guest.
So then they start traveling, and the parents are like, we have kids that can also make money. And so the daughters become clairvoyants too. So at this point, Victoria...
It's a genetic trait that's passed on.
A grifter, the grifter side is definitely genetic.
Yeah.
And Victoria Claflin and her sister, Tennessee. By the way,
Tennessee's a good name, though.
They call her Tenny. And Tenny's dope. But Victoria's middle name is California, by the way. Her name was
Tennessee. Why not California?
Right. They're anyway. So Victoria and Tennessee become these child clairvoyants, and their parents are like, "We're going all over the place," because like at the time, everyone loved a good weird family of clairvoyants because it was like fun and spiritualism. You know, you talked about spiritualism in that one episode.
Yeah.
But the skeleton.
It was like the reality show of their day, basically. That could absolutely be a show right now where it's like the wives of clairvoyant Mormons or something, and they would just make it a thing.
Okay. Victoria was a full-blown believer in this, by the way. But she also understandably hated her dad because her dad, hit her and stuff and was horrible. And, you know, so she took the first opportunity to get out of there when she went to a doctor's appointment, and the doctor, she was like, I'm going to marry this doctor. Well, it wasn't her choice. She was 15, and he decided that he was going to marry her.
He decided he wanted to marry her.
The family doctor, who was not a good doctor, by the way. He was really not talented. And he was 11 years her senior, and they got married. And unsurprisingly, the man who marries a child turns out not to be a good dude.
What?
I know. I was really, really hoping for pedophiles to come out on top.
Hashtag not all dudes who marry 15-year-olds.
Not all pedophiles. Cancel me. Release me from this.
Release me.
Just kidding. I deeply, deeply do not want that. Okay. So this 15-year-old, of course, gets pregnant pretty quickly, has 2 kids, Byron and Zulu.
Zulu?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Zulu's her daughter. Byron is born with like a disability, and which Victoria believes was caused because her husband kicked her in the stomach when she was pregnant, which is horrible. So awful. This poor girl has been physically abused her whole life, and now she finds herself in a marriage she can't get out of. So this goes on to be a huge moment in her life where she's like, oh, I think maybe women are people too. Oh. Maybe we should
Interesting. Expand on that.
Yeah, I think maybe they don't deserve to get kicked in the stomach. I know it's really radical.
I'm going to be every other podcast, be like, what?
Interesting.
Interesting. But what about what I watched on YouTube?
The video of the guy kicking people?
Are you saying that that guy said, Truck Balls 69 was sitting in the cab of his truck, and he said that
yelling.
They're not. So are you saying that guy's wrong?
I am saying that he's wrong. That I know it's fun. It's you love a yelling man in a truck, but sometimes you just got to read through the lines.
But he was wearing Oakleys. I mean,
I just pictured this doctor wearing Oakleys and yelling at a truck. My 15-year-old wife hates me. She suddenly wants me to treat her like a human being. Anyway, gross. I hate that that's still happening.
He's going to be called Dr. Oakley from now on for the rest of the story.
Dr. Oakley. Oh, he's about to leave this story. The only thing she leaves of him, the only thing that he gives to her is her last name, Woodhull.
Yeah. Okay.
His name was Channing, by the way, like Channing Tatum Woodhull.
Channing Tatum.
Woodhull.
I'm
a disaster. Okay. So I was so calm earlier. You saw me. So yeah, he turns out to be a terminal POS, as my cousin Ella says.
Yeah, she was saying that a lot.
She was an abusive, alcoholic womanizer. They stayed married for 10 years until she was finally able to leave him because her family's like, just come back and work for us as a clairvoyant. So she does. Through this clairvoyant business, she starts talking to a lot of women, obviously. And they're like, oh, my husband is awful. Oh, my husband's a drunk. I have to, I need an abortion and I can't get one. And so she starts realizing like we're all slaves. Mm-hmm. And she develops this opinion that maybe women are sold into slavery by their fathers and that their husbands are their masters. And so no one likes hearing that. So she, but she decides that's pretty much what marriage is. You have no control over yourself or your body. And, the controversial opinion that maybe your body belongs to you, but not someone else. She finally left this guy, right? At the time, she's working with her family again. Her sister, Tennessee Claflin, they become really close. And Tenny is currently a healer. They've made her a healer in their little family business. And she's healing cancer patients with magnets. So there's a magnet business going on. And Tenny gets charged with manslaughter after one of her patients.
Somebody dies
of cancer. And so Tenny and...
Manslaughter is an interesting charge.
She's a woman. No, they see it.
Woman or man, I just mean as a legal case, it's an interesting one to... Well, not fraud, but like straight up manslaughter is a weird...
They believed in the spiritualism. They're like, well, someone... That is an interesting charge, right?
Because you wouldn't have said like, oh, someone prayed for me and then like I didn't not die after they prayed. Like you wouldn't charge a priest or something for like praying. Right. So why would that... I
want to look into that.
Why would the magnet thing be manslaughter? Unless somehow the magnets like made the cancer worse or something. This is an aside. I'm just sort of curious about that.
Yeah, me too. I have no idea. But anyway, she got out of town. They end up moving to New York City because she's like, we're going to make money on the stock market.
Yeah. Oh, stonks.
Oh, just wait till I wrote stonks in here. Oh, they go to be some stonk brokers.
Stonk bronkers.
We're going to be stonk bronkers. Stonk bronkers. So Victoria Woodhull and her sister Tenny show up to New York and she realizes quickly that I can't actually buy stocks because I'm a woman, which pisses her off even more. So she had just met this new guy named Colonel James Blood. We got another guy with the last name Blood
Jim
here.
Blood?
Jimmy Blood.
Jimmy Blood.
And this guy was like a super into like human rights and like a reformer, and he was a feminist. It was really interesting. They kind of were a good duo. He divorced his wife to be with her, and he helped her and Tenny be able to buy and sell stocks, and they made a bunch of money.
Nice.
Which then caught the eye of none other than Cornelius Vanderbilt.
Oh.
Who was like, these chicks are pretty hot. Literally, he was just like, they're hot. I'm into this. Let's get them going with a stock brokerage. So now these two sisters with the money from Cornelius, who they may have had an affair with, one of them may have had, we don't know. They opened the first female-owned. They were the first women stockbrokers on the stock on Wall Street. What is it? I don't even know the words. On Wall Street in American history. And they made.
I feel conflicted about this.
So do I.
Yeah, I'm like it's cool that there's girl power. The worst thing ever is
capitalism.
The stock.
Yeah, absolutely the worst. And like
stonks.
I'm gonna say now, Victoria is a controversial person. So
I'm sure in many business schools they really love it, and they'll be like, "Yay!"
Yeah, they do. Well, she's got like girl power, but then you got read between the lines, and you're like, you're kind of a grifter as well. But
I mean, that's what her training was. Yeah. Also, stonks aren't inherently bad. They've just become too deregulated and insane right now.
She's fascinating because of the lives she's lived, because she didn't just do one thing. She did so many random things. Mm-hmm. Hers was a life of trying to survive to the next step.
Yeah.
And doing whatever it took to do that.
I hear that.
She learned from her family. Yeah. Exactly. And grifter is a word you use, but you could argue that she was just trying to survive. So
trying to survive. That's how we all are.
And so,
bunch of artists in Artist Alley being like, "Oh, I'll draw your cat or a Ninja Turtle. I'm not a grifter at all."
Artists. Look, we'll just go to the stock market.
Stocks, dude.
We got to walk in there and just be like, "Stocks, please," right?
That's
yeah.
You just scan a QR code as soon as you sit down.
Yeah, and then
I'm like,
money.
I need a menu stock market. I'm not doing this QR code like looking on my phone bullshit.
I know. I hate that COVID killed the stock market menu.
So many people read the menu online before they even go down to the stock market. It's terrible.
Would like an extra large stock, please.
Well, can I know the special for today? The special stocks.
Oh, it's Tesla. No,
it's
thanks.
Enron. It's actually back. It's a throwback.
It's Enron. That tells you like how much of artists we are, because the last big stock thing that is in our heads is Enron.
Enron was like the last big controversial one, I believe.
Yeah, those were the days.
Because it screwed so much of us. That's why.
Oh, yeah.
It screwed literally the entire state of California. But that's a story for another day.
Woo.
Did you ever watch that doc, the Enron, the smartest guys in the room?
No, but I wanted to.
That's a good. So maybe I'll do a tab on Enron one day, which it's been done to death. But when you know like like looking back on what it did, like at the time you didn't really understand, but you're like a lot of what happened in the 2000s in the entire state of California has to do with Enron.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, like Schwarzenegger becoming governor was a direct result of the shit that those assholes pulled.
Looking back on that is wild.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was our governor.
Yeah, the recall, Gray Davis, all that all ties directly to Enron. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah, you should do a tab on that sometime, because I will forget everything you just said.
I don't even remember what I just told you. Anyway.
Cool. Fish. Goldfish. We're goldfish. So the sisters were these like powerhouse brokers, and everyone was like, what do we do with this? Like, they're kind of hot, but also like women aren't people, like, what do we do?
What do we do?
And a lot of men were like, this is awesome. Because despite popular belief, a lot of men were what we would consider feminists at the time. Like, not every man was against suffrage. There was a lot of supporters, but a lot of times if they came out for suffrage, they would be, fired or lose their standing in society, which is why there was a lot of money behind the scenes from men.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
You see this. I mean, that's just how every political movement goes.
I was going to say that's kind of the same thing now, where it's like the loudest, most irritating voices are the ones that get the most. The squeak gets the wheel kind of shit, but the majority doesn't necessarily like give a shit to the extent that those people who benefit the most from being in that position too, which is always what it comes back to.
Always. And if they see the writing on the wall that change is coming, they got to be on the right side.
They're like, oh no.
And Vanderbilt, as we all know, has come out on the right side of history.
Listen, he gave us Anderson Cooper, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. Yeah. Thank goodness. He also
all is forgiven.
Caused the Great Depression.
All is forgiven. Wow, Anderson Cooper, incredible head of hair.
I'll take him.
That is a handsome man.
He's handsome. I saw him in New York once, and he's short.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, is he short?
Maybe I'm misremembering, but I walked
by
and I was
I
like, that was Anderson Cooper.
Interesting.
Everyone's always shorter.
He doesn't look giant. Yeah, he doesn't. Everyone on TV is always shorter, except for me for some reason.
You're tall.
I'm 6 feet tall, but like most people are like 5 foot whatever. They're like
10,
5'8" or 5'7" or something.
Yeah, we don't know much about the friendship between the Vanderbilts and the Claflin sisters, but some say he was the lover of one of them. And that Tennessee Claflin was mischievous, kind of flirtatious, my kind of girl, and I think that they were having an affair, and he wanted to marry her, but. Woodhull and Claflin went on to make bank because part of this brokerage was them being mediums, being like, oh, we're actually clairvoyants, and they told a bunch of rich dudes what to buy and sell, and sometimes they would do that and benefit from it because why wouldn't you?
Insider trading. They were like, actually, we understood what was going to happen.
They were using witchcraft for insider trading.
That's absolutely what I would do.
Oh, same, yeah. Which they were nicknamed the bewitching brokers, and no one knew what to do with them.
It's a pretty good name.
I know, accused them of sexual immorality on account of them being in public without a man, and also making money without the presence of a man. And then I wrote stonks. So after
Take
being,
that.
And the papers were like, "Can you believe these petticoats in the stock market?" And meanwhile, they're just like banking on
bewitching brokers.
The bewitching brokers. Anyway. After being the newly minted money sluts or whatever, thanks to the stock
money sluts.
That's what they are. Like, well, we are rich and everyone thinks we're sluts.
I really want to be a money slut one day. God.
Me too, if I could.
I just want to be the money part of it. I don't care if they think I'm slutty. That's fine. I just want
be your
money.
Pimp. I'll take you to Wall Street.
Please
you could be the money slut.
I'd just be like, the Persian is seeing things as they happen and unfold. Divest all your fortunes away from Tesla.
And give them just to me.
To me, my stunk.
Gross. Stunk. So now they're, like I said, newly minted money sluts. They're like, you know what we need? We need to make our own newspaper. Because Victoria will not stop. She won't stop. She's just like, and in her head this whole time, she's like, I kind of want to run for president.
That's right. Oh, I just remembered that was the entire point of the stab from the beginning. Yeah,
this she's nuts. And remember, she gets arrested for running for president later. So we'll get there. So she has this paper with her sister and she's like, this is my platform. I'm going to have my platform. I'm going to put this out. And I'm going to say the most insane things in this paper possible to get sales.
Oh, Truth Social basically is what she's doing.
Yeah, but way more feminist and way more like she wrote about legalized prostitution. Because she argued that marriage is pretty much legalized prostitution. So why can't we legalize actual prostitution? Yeah. Which all the feminists were like, shush, don't, come on, man.
You're not supposed to do that.
You're messing with our thing. Because, the feminists and suffragettes at the time were all very wealthy white women. Claflin or Victoria kind of thought that was, lame because she's a poor, also white woman. But she saw the issues among that. Like you can't even break that ceiling into the upper class unless you have money from your husband or whatever. So that pissed her off. And she'd also talk about how sex education should be accessible to young people, which is duh.
So far, we're like not hearing anything bad yet.
No. Nothing is bad. Unionism. She wanted to support unions, workers' rights.
Union girl, like it.
Women's rights. Before you get too on her side, I will say that she has some problematic.
I was gonna say, this is you've done me dirty like this before.
That's why I'm telling you right now.
You're like, actually, she was also a full-fledged Nazi.
I wouldn't say Nazi.
Oh no, that was where it went. No. It always comes back.
It's the 1880s. Everyone's kind of like, whoa, what about eugenics? And her view on eugenics was that she doesn't want kids to be born with disabilities because her son is so mentally disabled. So that's her thing. Proposing? That she wants people to marry healthy people. I don't know.
Oh, I see.
I couldn't find anything on racial stuff.
She's saying people with disabilities shouldn't reproduce is essentially the argument that she's making, or what?
Yeah. Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, I won't be voting for her.
No, I won't either. And you know what? No one else did either. So
good.
Just letting you know, a lot of people at the time kind of thought this way.
She's all just push them. Yeah, well, of course, unfortunately.
Which not meaning it's good. I just don't want you to get too excited about her.
I don't care about anything, okay?
I know. I can see it in your eyes.
It's just dead. For all of you who aren't watching on YouTube, subscribe to YouTube to see the death behind my eyes.
To see the nothingness behind his eyes. Oh, scary. Your whole face went slack. Ugh.
Yeah, it's because I opened up Slack and I was sending messages being like,
stocks and broking
the
stocks
ad copy for the new ad spot is ready if you would like to approve of the script. Thank you for the changes. I would like to go ahead and record them. Anyway, sorry, continue.
He's dead, guys. May as well vote. We may as well
vote
put him
for
in
for president.
Dang it, you beat me
what
to
if
it.
I
Yes.
what if I ran against you? Who would you vote for? My corpse or Hannah's corpse? I don't want to ask that because they're gonna vote you in.
No, they're not.
100% they're gonna vote your corpse in over mine.
You think so?
Absolutely.
That means a lot. I'll make you my running mate.
Listen, I'm immediately. I'm like, I'm not gonna be a vice dead president. I'm just gonna leave and go back to a place that I was never from, but Iran, I guess, and just be the dead president there.
Somehow you overthrow
as a corpse.
Overthrow the Islam. Exactly. You're like, oh God, that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, stop talking, Hannah. That's what I want to say to myself.
I was gonna say stop talking, comment. I was like, I should. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, I don't care what you do. So, I'm keeping it chill. I'm on track. Everything's good and normal.
We're gonna land this plane. It's gonna be great.
I bet the election yesterday was so good.
Dude, it was so relaxed and no one's stressed out right now.
Fell asleep. It was so good.
You would fall asleep like during the insurrection.
I will have you know that the last insurrection, I stayed up all night watching.
Did you really?
I had a 3-day-old baby and I was like, couldn't sleep anyway. So I was just like,
no, that'll do it.
All up every single thing. I was just like, oh, I read every single article there was to read. I watched it unfold in real time while I fed my kid. Anyway, the newspaper. So they also published stuff on vegetarianism, socialism, shorter work days, and the freedom to wear whatever you wanted as a woman, such as short skirts, which at the time just meant to your knees. And the Victorian era, they were just like, how dare you be such a slut? That is insane. You're going to show your legs? A lot of these articles were also kind of like tabloids because that's kind of what sold the paper.
Right.
So they covered weird current events, scandals, gossip. Everyone loved that.
Bad people on the moon.
Bad people on the moon. It was also, weirdly enough, the very first paper in the U.S. to publish the English translation of the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx, which sold a ton. By 1871, she'd kind of made a name for herself by being an outspoken, kind of extremist feminist and suffragette. And so she was invited to Washington, D.C. by her friend, Benjamin Butler, who was also a supporter, to talk to the all-male House Judiciary Committee in Congress, which was crazy. This had not been done before. So she gets up there and of course she's fearless and she's like mic drops on all these dudes and she's just like, here's my insane take. And she says, women are the equals of men before the law and are equal in all their rights. And everyone was like, slut. And then she went on to say that women, and she argued like, women already have the right to vote, you guys, under the 14th Amendment, which stated that all women and men are citizens. Yeah. And then in the 15th Amendment, you gave all citizens the right to vote. The right to
vote, yeah. They were like, oh, wait, hold on.
Wait, oh no, what have we done?
That's not what we meant.
We said women were people. Oh no. The 15th Amendment is also...
They're like, Rob, you said that this was ironclad when we made it into an amendment.
Can you please get her out of here? 15th Amendment also abolished slavery a year before. So Victoria argued that technically women were slaves. Here's where I'm like, Vicky, come on, let's stay in our lane. She's like, well, we're slaves too. We've always been slaves. So the 15th Amendment, gets, frees us too. And everyone's like, oh, and all the other feminists.
We expect a YouTube apology video very quickly after this.
Well, all the black feminists were like, maybe don't.
Not sure about that. Yeah.
The rich white feminists were like, ew, like, don't. We're not slaves, She just wanted to say whatever she wanted, and she did. Sure. So, Vicky, chill. And she threatened all the men by saying, if you don't include us in the government, we're going to overthrow all of you, and the motherhood is going to take over.
Oh, interesting.
And everyone was like, oh no.
What is the motherhood?
I don't know, just women running the whole thing.
It's like an Illuminati of women who are like coming together. It's like the Bene Gesserit from Dune.
Yeah, except, actually, I like Dune. That's my hot take.
Okay.
This, of course, made everyone really mad, and they refused to even hear her out. And a ton of papers were like, look at this dumb idiot. Look at this stupid woman. Dumb stuff. Even Susan B. Anthony was like, all right, well, you need to take it down some notches. You can't just say that we're not property.
Right.
Like, We still have husbands. Nobody hated her more than this guy named Anthony Comstock. And if that name sounds familiar,
like that, yeah, it does.
That's for a reason. He considered himself the protector and defender of morality in the country.
Oh, great, because we need those.
Yeah. And he decided this because just on his own, he was a Union soldier, and he was like, we should stop smoking as soldiers and stop drinking alcohol and don't look at any more porn.
Huge fan of his. He was great at parties.
Such a dork. And everyone was like, you suck. He also wanted everyone to stop swearing. And he called himself the weeder of God's garden. So,
I hate this man.
Fun dude. And he hated Victoria. And he was like, I'm going to find a way to bring her down. So here's where things turn. So she does say, okay, I want to run for president. And she gives this speech where she says that she is a huge proponent of free love, which up until now, everyone has been like, yeah, we're kind of with you. You're a little much, but we're kind of with you. And a lot of men are like, yeah, we're with you. Free love, though, this speech was like, I believe in free love, which meant something very different back then. It meant she believed in monogamy, but she also believed that she had every right to change her mind and ask for a divorce at any time. Because at the time, women weren't allowed to get divorces.
Yeah.
Even if they were being, marital rape or beaten. And she was saying that's called free love. She wants to be a free woman and free to love whom she wishes. So later on, it's like free love is just like do whoever you want.
Bang everybody, right?
She
in
also
the 60s
believed,
anyway.
Exactly. And she also believed that women's sexual organs were their own property and that they belonged to women and nobody else, and that they had rights over their own bodily choices. Things we don't.
Things that we're not allowing now.
Yeah. So these beliefs, this is when everybody was like fully turned against her. They're like, whoa, free love? Your vagina's your own? I don't think so. And all these other feminists were like, no, you're a little too extreme. This is crazy. We can't just start like this. We have to start slow and work up, including Susan B. Anthony turned against her. The Beecher sisters, Harriet Beecher Stowe and Isabella Beecher, they and many others distanced themselves. And when she finally announced she was running for president, they all cut ties. And so she was kind of left alone.
No endorsements.
No endorsements. But she did. The people who were not in agreement with Susan B. Anthony and the rest of the white, rich feminists were like, no, we're going to start our own party. Screw that. And we're going to let men come. So the Equal Rights Party was formed. And she elected to be the candidate for that party. And they also elected Frederick Douglass as the vice president, even though he wasn't there, didn't consent to it, and full on just was like, I don't have anything to do.
What are you talking about? I don't even know you people.
But it was her attempt to be like, look, we also want black people involved. Like
courting the black vote in the most condescending way, just not even asking for his own consent to be a vice presidential candidate. One of the most influential abolitionists. Yeah, you can be my vice president. At least put him in the cabinet, like give him a real job.
Full on white woman move right there. But he was like, no, I'm not commenting on this. Yeah, also, I wasn't there. But the choice was made because many black women were excluded from the suffrage movement at the time. Turns out, by the way, Susan B. Anthony, kind of a racist. So were Elizabeth Katie Stanton and the others. There was a lot of racism going on.
Yeah.
So she ran for the party on a platform of workers' rights, unionism, equal pay, all of that. She was fearless. It kind of freaked people out and said whatever she wanted. And she was also an amazing public speaker. So even her rivals were like, no, she's kind of like what she's saying.
Just dropping bars.
Exactly. She went 1800s version of viral. And everyone's like, oh, it's the money. What did I say earlier? The money slut.
Money sluts.
They satirized her endlessly, called her sexually immoral, corrupt, man-hater. And of course, they lambasted her choice of clothing because, of course,
too many pantsuits.
It's like, oh, this pantsuit color is bad.
Her haircut's too short.
She looks...
Yeah. That's what'll determine who's a good president. Right. Pantsuits and your haircut.
Yeah, I don't like how she looks in that haircut. Yeah. Anyway, so then Harriet Beecher Stowe, who was once an ally, she wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin. I know I mentioned that earlier. She wrote into the paper like, this lady's nuts. We're not doing this, and said that you should still focus on being a wife and mother while also earning the right to vote. And she was this divorcee with 2 kids, and
basically she's like, you're a childless cat lady is essentially what she called her.
Yeah. And even Thomas Nast, so that cartoonist, did this amazing cartoon and drew this. It was titled "Get Thee Behind Me, Mrs. Satan," and it was in Harper's Weekly. And it was Victoria Woodhull with like bat wings and like an evil like face.
Did she go to the moon?
Right. It looks a lot like that.
Whoa, did you grab the picture?
Of course not. Will you type in Thomas Nast, Victoria Woodhull? Because it'd be fun to have you describe it.
All right. So she's literally got devil horns with like bat wings, and she's holding up a sign that says "Be saved by free love," and she's on some sort of a cliff. And then behind her, there is it looks like a woman carrying 2 children and then a drunk guy on her back.
That's her husband. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So is this supposed to be an insult? Because that looks metal as shit. That looks like being married sucks. And you have a dumbass drunk husband and these stupid kids that are hanging on to you. Meanwhile, you get to be an evil bat and like fly away and be cool and wear an awesome goth dress. I don't know. Is this supposed to
queen?
Goth queen. Is this supposed to make me not want to vote for her or what?
It is, but it kind of backfired. So that woman, the woman behind her is saying, I'd rather travel the hardest path of matrimony than follow in your footsteps. So pretty much saying, I'd take a drunk husband and too many kids over the right to vote.
Basically, I prefer to make my life more difficult for no reason.
Which is funny because I guess it played on like women at the time being like, yeah, that's my life and I do my best, But in the end, it's like, that looks horrible.
It's called the sunk fallacy.
Yeah, it's exactly. Victoria did have supporters though. So many people hated
sunk cost fallacy. I didn't finish my thought, but yes, continue.
Oh, I think everybody. I
understood. I don't know.
I don't know either. Victoria did have supporters, even though everyone was like, you suck. Everyone hated Grant enough to be like, yeah, maybe we could like vote for the lady. And she was respected by a lot of people, but she poured all of her money into her campaign to the point where she was running out. Stock market money had run out. She was feeling desperate. And what happened next is kind of up for debate because the election is looming.
Okay.
Her paper has been put out of business because she doesn't have money. So she has no platform.
And because she talked about dumping a bear body in Central Park. And that she had worms in her brain. How quickly we've forgotten about him.
That's how wild this is. It's like 3 months ago, I was like,
footnote. That was just RFK. A footnote.
Now, who is he? I don't know.
Doesn't matter. He never mattered to begin with.
Worm brains.
Sorry to all of our RFK supporters on this podcast.
He's a Kennedy. That's the craziest thing. He's a Kennedy. But he's like, worms for brains.
Worms for brains.
I'd vote for the worm. So her paper was gone, but she brought it back right before the election because she wanted to do one more expose.
Okay.
Which I will say right now is a shot in the foot. She shot herself in the foot. Because all of her detractors were pulling their money from her campaign, totally poor. And she was like, fine, I'll show you. And so she writes this whole expose on this abolitionist and preacher, Henry Ward Beecher. That rhymes.
I remember Henry Ward Beecher. Yeah.
He's the brother of Harriet and Isabella Beecher Stowe. And so the story accuses him with proof of having an adulterous affair with the wife of a close friend, Theodore Tilton. So her thing was like, can you believe this hypocrite preaching Christianity and then like banging this lady on the side? And she wanted to point out the double standards of it, thinking, well, duh, look at the double standards. If a woman does this, then she's cast out of society. But if a man does this, he can get away with it. It backfired big time because everyone was like, how dare you talk about this man? And the tone of her article was really nice and like regretful. Like, oh, I wish this guy had been better. He used to be my friend. I wish he'd actually been an ally or whatever. And sometimes she was trying to blackmail someone for funds or did this out of revenge. We don't really know.
I see. Okay.
Because it was kind of a bad timing. Like a week before the election. Like, come on.
October surprise.
This is her October surprise. Yeah. And the next column.
This is her Access Hollywood tape that she's trying to release.
Except it's like full truth. Like, this guy sucks. And everyone's like, anyway, the next column was by her sister Tenny, who was less afraid of just being absurd.
Okay.
And she was like, she then exposed some guy who was on the stock market, one of these brokers, of being a rapist. And she said, this dude took these 2 young teenage girls and raped them in the brothel against their will, obviously against their will. And this freaked everyone out because they're like, you're just going to make this accusation? Like, this is the Me Too moment, and no one was happy about it. And so part of her article said, put a woman on trial for anything. Let her even so much as go before the courts to obtain pecuniary justice, and it is considered a legitimate part of the defense to make the most searching inquiry into her sexual morality. How is it with regard to men? Who thinks of attacking them in regard to their sexual morality? So pretty much saying double standard. And Anthony Comstock, do you remember this guy? The guy who hates her, the total dork, the bootlicking nerd.
The hall monitor. Yeah, the RA.
The hall monitor of the Union Army.
The RA that no one asked for.
Everyone hates him. the straight edge RA who hates swearing. He sees this paper and he's like, here we go.
We got it.
They walked right into this. And he knows that if these papers were sent to the USPS, they were under federal jurisdiction. And at the time, you were not allowed to send lurid or like slanderous or sexual articles through the mail. And so he hired people to send copies of her paper to him so he could get a warrant for her arrest. So this led to the sister.
Isn't that entrapment?
Yes. But they're women, Kaveh. Come on. You just got. They're not people. His argument was like they're like ruining everything. Morality of the country.
Legally, that holds up in a court of law. They're ruining. It's the ruining everything case of that's the precedent of 1865.
He was seriously arguing like the morality of these women are going to ruin the country. This is the new woman. We don't want this. If she has a voice, bad. So they were arrested by federal agents 3 days before the election, taken to Ludlow Street Jail. And the sisters were both very chill. Like they.
By the way, the pointing of Ludlow Street Jail was not because I've been to jail. For those of you who are watching and don't understand what the reference was, it's because when we were in New York, we walked by Ludlow Street and remembered the Julian Casablancas song of Ludlow Street. But I just want to clarify because it looked like I got arrested and went to Ludlow Street Jail. Like wink. Anyway, continue.
I just want to clarify that whatever, you know.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
I say what I want.
Listen, you're making everything bad, Hannah. I'm going to arrest you.
Please.
Morally,
put me in jail.
Put me in jail.
So they go to Ludlow Street Jail, and the warden is like, these ladies are so chill for being ladies. He said, there's no womanly exhibition of tears visible. And everyone's
they didn't even cry once.
They didn't cry. They're saying they're completely correct and they have no reason to be here and they're not crying. This is crazy. Women are insane.
Yeah.
And they were in prison for over a month. She was planning on trying to vote as a protest, but she was unable to. So the election went forward without her anywhere near. And
so she was in jail at the time.
She was jailed because
at the time of the election when they were voting.
Yes.
Amazing by today's standards that would have resulted in a landslide victory.
Right. Like someone being convicted of a crime and then.
I don't even know how many at this point. I've lost count.
I think it was like 30 something charges or something.
34 was the last set that came out, but there's more on top of that. I don't know how many it is.
Great. Where is this Ludlow Street Jail? We should know. Anyway, so there's unfair trials that followed, and then she didn't get out of jail for 2 months. And she wrote from the jail that night to the New York Herald a letter because she wanted to have it out in the, hey, they arrested me. She said, to the public, I would say in conclusion that they may succeed in crushing me out, even to the loss of my life. But let me warn them and you that from the ashes of my body, 1,000 Victorias will spring to avenge my death by seizing the work laid down by me and carrying it forward to victory.
Oh, man.
Pretty metal. Also maybe a little much, but
it's a little bit dramatic.
Out
of my ashes, 1,000 Victorias will emerge.
Which is like, if you want.
That sounds very witchy. I'm just gonna say that definitely sounds like you're not helping that case.
Favors. And it's funny because Susan B. Anthony actually did cast her vote in this election, and she was then arrested as well. So very opposite sides because Susan B. Anthony was like, "Nah, I'm sick of you," but she went and did what Victoria was planning on doing, which was vote in the election, and her vote was cast, and then she was arrested and tried. And so that was Victoria. And she was this crazy former child psychic, who became a stockbroker and then a socialist newspaper publisher and then ran for president and then was a convict.
Whoa. She was like a Rockefeller almost.
She was insane. One more little follow-up. Vanderbilt pretty much paid her to leave the country after that.
Where did she go?
England. And then she kind of went back and was like,
wasn't her punishment enough?
I know.
Wasn't being in jail enough that he had to send her to England?
Take me back to Ludlow Street Jail. Oh. Anyway, she moved to England, died there, but she was really involved in the suffragette movement there. And there's so much more about her. This was nothing. Go read about her. That's Victoria Woodhull and the first female candidate for president. And hopefully not the last.
All right.
Definitely not the last. There was many more. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
I'm unhinged. That's Victoria Woodhull. What do you have? What election-themed tab have you brought?
That was a good one. Thank you for your tab. That was a lot of fun.
You're welcome.
So a few weeks ago, you might remember I got into do you remember when I did the Guano Islands Act of 1856?
Oh yeah, Shit Island.
Yeah, Shit Island. It was it was fun. We learned about shit. But we also learned
about islands.
About islands, most importantly. About how laws can shape our day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
Almost as if being a lawyer can be used for good sometimes.
I don't know. I just think me having the right to vote might have been a mistake.
I agree. Listen, only if I can vote for you to be a corpse in office. That's the only thing that matters.
Gladly. Please.
Yeah. But now I'm basically a certified legal historian. So I wanted to tell you about another bit of legal history.
You're a civil engineer. You're a legal historian. What's next?
So there aren't enough hours in the day for me to sufficiently complain about what an empty vessel disguised as a political leader this dickhead was. And normally, I wouldn't even bother voluntarily bringing him up on a podcast that I have control over. But this story, I thought, gave some context for our upbringings, at least those of us who came of age in the 1980s.
Oh, not me.
This involves a certain somebody that you love. But I'll get to that.
I'm already mad at you. Do not roll him out into here and tell everyone I love him.
So, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, America used to have these things called regulations.
Never heard of it.
Spelling? I don't know. Regulations? I guess.
Regulations, yeah.
Regulations. There were these things. They were like these systems put in place to stop giant corporations and companies from taking over every aspect of people's lives and destroying everything we hold dear. I don't know. It sounds kind of made up. I
don't know if I can support this talk on here. It's false.
Yeah. I don't know. I could be wrong. It could be wrong.
Yeah.
It could be fake news. But in regards to the topic of today's tab, we begin with action for children's television.
Oh no. Okay.
Do you know about Action for Children's Television?
No, but I think I might.
It's called ACT, ACT for short.
Yeah.
This was an American grassroots nonprofit child advocacy group dedicated to improving the quality of children's television.
Interesting.
ACT was founded by Peggy Sharon, Lillian Ambrosino, Evelyn K. Sarson, and Judy Chelfin in Newton, Massachusetts in 1968, and at its peak had around 20,000 volunteers with 8 full-time staff. They were nothing to shake a stick at. They had a pretty significant following. Now, ACT was initially born out of a desire to act as a check against advertising to little kids.
Hey, yeah.
It's not a bad I didn't actually think ACT was particularly bad. This is just where the story starts.
We used to have regulations against ads for kids.
Yeah, that's what actually a lot of this is about.
I'm strong.
Their first target was a show based out of Boston called Romper Room. Did you ever hear about it?
No.
Even me, who's ancient, like I've never even heard about this. This is before my time.
Yeah.
On its surface, Romper Room seemed perfectly harmless. It was like a show that was aimed at preschoolers. And in each episode, the hostess and her group of children would embark on a series of like games and songs and morality-driven story time. It was like your kind of standard PBS kind of stuff. Like
kids show, yeah.
Kids shows, yeah, like preschooler stuff.
Yeah.
Like Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers, something like that. Nothing out of the ordinary on the surface. But what brought Romper Room to the attention of ACT was their line of toys that they would try and subtly sell and promote during the show.
Okay.
So it was folded in. I know by today's standards, it's like, yeah, that's just what people do. But that used to not be a thing. That used to not be allowed.
This was odd. Okay.
This was odd.
Am I about to have my mind blown? Is this about to like get into some... Never mind.
I don't want to promise you that your mind will get blown, but my mind was definitely blown at the sequence of events that happened here. Yeah, so by today's standards, that doesn't seem that crazy, but they used to try and push the toy like in the actual show. As our friend Jack Donaghy used to call it, product integration. Now, remember, at this time, that had long been a tradition into like radio and like soap operas and whatnot. Like that wasn't that crazy.
Yeah.
Right? But ACT makes the case, I feel correctly, that it's whack to advertise to anything to kids that are that young.
Yeah.
Regardless of them being insanely impressionable, I'd like to think that there can be some period of our lives that we are not inundated by advertisements.
Right. We have no idea what that's like. gives me the ick. Like,
it reminded me of that quote from Futurama. I don't know if you remember this, where they started showing ads in his dreams. And then Fry gets all mad and he's like, we didn't have ads in our dreams, only on TV and radio and in magazines and movies and at ball games and on buses and milk cartons and t-shirts and bananas and written on the sky, but not in our dreams. No siree.
I do remember that. It's so good.
I think about that all the time. He says, and on bananas and written on the sky.
Because bananas they did.
They still do. They still have ads on them.
Do?
I mean, they technically they're advertising for the banana company itself, but.
This is banana partnership with Pepsi.
Yeah, it's the worst. Anyway, so ACT puts Romper Room on blast, and then like shit got real. ACT threatened to turn the matter over to the FCC unless local TV station WHDH made the program conform to current regulations. So some of these regulations were sort of loosely in place, but the FCC is like, we don't give a shit about children. Like, this is not important to us. Like, why don't you go smoke cigarettes? I don't know. So
with the children,
with the children, borrow it from them. You can bum a smoke off them. But ACT basically was like, no one's really. I know when people hear about like parental advocacy groups, they tend to think of like super overly conservative or religious kind of thing, which I'm not. I wasn't clear in terms of like what it didn't seem like there was a direct religious affiliation with ACT. There might have been. I'm not going to say there wasn't, but it didn't seem like that was specifically the basis of it, as a lot of them are. They seem to integrate a lot of like psychological studies, and they're like, yeah, this is not a good idea for a developing mind to be having ads pushed to it at that young.
When you're 4.
So they put pressure on the network, on WHDH. They basically backed down, and so ACT had its first victory. And the group pressured Congress and the FCC to take their concerns seriously, going so far as to getting certain shows they feel were too violent for young kids to be picked up for the 69 to 70 season and replaced with more age-appropriate programming. This tripped me out. You mentioned this, you referenced this earlier, but this blew my mind. So, of course, everyone bitched and moaned, but in an ironic twist of fate, the decision led directly to the development of our one and only Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo comes out because of this decision.
It's a huge part of my childhood. That stupid show. Jeez.
I was going to go into like the whole development of Scooby-Doo, which you can read, but literally, even if you go look up the page about it, the first thing is like the ACT like was pressuring companies to put out stuff that was less violent. And like, that's basically what throws this show into development and to become essentially the iconic show that it became. So I thought that was a total trip.
Yeah. Seriously, like that blows my mind a little bit, because I just thought that was like any other show where it's like, we made up this cartoon, but really it's like, no.
No, it was literally
a replacement show.
Yeah, it was basically because they put pressure on the FCC. They were like, we're going to put pressure on the FCC to do this if you don't. And then they're like, okay. And then everyone's like, oh, shit, we got to make something that doesn't have like people getting their heads chopped off. Let's make Scooby-Doo.
Instead of head chopping off, we're going to rip the masks off of a bunch of people.
So you still get the sensation of taking the head off of it.
Beheading somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, as you know, all kids need that sensation.
Listen, all I wanted as a baby was to be able to chop people's heads off. I was really sad that I didn't get to do it. Yeah. Now, everyone who's a whiner might be all annoyed that people they gave a shit about what kind of crap was being peddled to kids. But ACT didn't just deal with toy ads. In 1971, ACT successfully challenged the promotion of vitamins, usually fruit-flavored ones that resembled candy to children. And there's a quote here from one of their little blurbs. It says, 1/3 of the commercials were for vitamin pills, even though the bottle said, quote, keep out of reach of children because an overdose could put them in a coma.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Overdosing on Flintstone vitamins was absolutely a thing.
Right. I didn't know this until this point, which is crazy. I was like, what?
Like, I don't want to, like, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure kids died. Like,
I would not put it past
kids.
Kids. No, not kids, kidding. But like, so that's basically what they're saying. Yeah.
Delicious. It's like I bought Tums the other day and I've eaten them like candy because they look like candy.
No, the worst is the melatonin gummies that I got from Costco. They're like white peach. I'm like, these are so good. I just want to eat these.
And sleep
but I
for
can't.
years.
I don't care about the sleep part. It's just the flavor's delicious.
It's like, even as an adult, I'm like, candy. This is candy.
This is how I always feel about booze, where people like make their booze too. And I'm like, you're supposed to taste the booze being not good for you so that you don't drink too much of it. That's how it works. Sugary drinks are bad. Just drink the liquor. ACT contended that children, quote, do not have the maturity of experience to analyze and discount the normal, quote, puffery claims of commercials, and that as children, usually do not have enough money to buy the items advertised. They're manipulated into pressuring their parents to do so for them, which I figured you could weigh in here. Basically, a toddler will stop at nothing once they want something, and these companies were taking advantage of that.
Yep. And you know what? That's why I will pay whatever it takes to not have ads on any of our like streaming services. Really? Yeah, I won't do it. I actually have a really strong opinion about this.
Let's hear it.
I just remember like when I was a kid, it was like I watched TV constantly, like watching Batman, and then I'm like, oh, I need that Barbie or that dog that gives birth or whatever. There's always random stuff that they would try to sell. And my mom was, I'm grateful. Here's the thing. My mom and dad were like, no, it doesn't actually look like that. Or like, I'll see something. I'm like, oh, Oreo cereal. And they were like, doesn't look or taste like Oreos. They are lying to you. Like I was lucky enough to have parents be like, well, you know, just kind of like insert some doubts here and there.
Yeah.
To the point where also they were like, well, you don't have money. You're just going to draw. That's what you're doing. You're drawing.
Good luck.
That's what.
Yeah.
But as I had kids, I started realizing like going to Target and seeing like the toy aisle and kind of getting this sad, sick feeling of like, this is just landfill. Like, I don't want my kids to want this. Like, they don't need this and I don't need it. And so I had this whole thing. I'm like, okay, I've loosened up a little bit, but like no screens until they're 3, no branded stuff until they're older. And like I said, I've loosened up, but I was like, we're paying for no ads. I don't want these kids to see ads. And if they do, I need to be there to tell them that they're all lies.
That they're all lies, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm glad my parents did that, because then I could watch ads and be like, yeah, that's just food coloring. That's not what it looks like, you know? I don't know. It just gives me like the weird existential sadness.
Yeah.
When I think about kids watching something and being like, I need to purchase this.
Yeah.
And I need to convince my mom to purchase it for me. I don't know. It just, it doesn't feel good.
It gives you the ick.
It gives me the ick. I feel like I owe it to my kids to teach them how to critically think. Yeah, that's it. That's my thing. Anyway, go on.
Good. So throughout the 1970s, there was a respectable push and pull between groups like ACT and the FCC. And they managed to fight for a certain amount of hours of all ages programming on weekdays, limit the number of ads that could be shown to older kids, and hosts couldn't plug anything anymore. They also made it so that the show would have to tell the audience that they were going to commercial. So if you remember this, it'd be like, we'll be back after these messages.
Yeah.
These were all systems that they put in place so that our developing brains didn't get confused and like insane and fixated and ODing on a full. Yeah. So they were like, these are ads now, because they used to just be like, this is all part of one thing. Like they did these studies and they're like, kids can't tell the difference. Like at that, when they're younger, essentially, they don't know that something's part of a program.
The same reality, which is what you see on YouTube now, where they don't have an ad break. They don't have ad breaks. It's just like, okay, and now here is a bunch of slime. Tell your mom to buy you slime.
So they made that. So that's part of what ACT negotiated, was to just be like, and now a sponsor from our message, or a message from our sponsor. And then like, we'll be right back. And like, now we're back to the show, so that, you know, like, okay, we're taking a break. We're looking at ads. These are ads for something. And they come, it's stuff that we don't take for granted as adults.
Right.
Because you're like, yeah, like, of course it's an ad. Like the volume is way louder and like the style of the show is very different. But like,
we wouldn't have known otherwise.
If you're 2 years old, 3 years old, you probably can't tell the difference.
No.
Overall, again, it's from what I was reading, I was like, yeah, this group doesn't seem terrible. It seemed like they're not really like a bad thing in any way.
Kind of with them.
Yeah. But speaking of bad things, everything changed in 1980 with the election of Ronald Gray Sweatpants Season Reagan.
Look, what happens in a man's sweatpants is none of your business. On Air Force, whatever happens on Air Force One between Ronald Reagan and his sweatpants is his business.
Have we shown the sweatpant picture on the YouTube before?
That's our picture.
Oh no. I think we should put it on the screen so that people know that this is the picture I keep sending Hannah like over and over again, like, to ruin her day.
I need everyone to understand that I receive this picture at least once a week, and I have been for a year. It's almost been a year of Ronald Reagan sweatpants, but
you've been blessed.
Now I love that picture. I even drew it on your birthday card.
You drew it on my birthday card.
Here's the thing. The sweatpants are tucked into his socks. And then they're pleated in a weird way where it's like, what's under there? And then he's wearing a regular dress shirt. It's just bad. Everything about it is bad. Probably the worst thing he's ever done.
It ruins my day every time I even have to send it to you, is the funny part. Because
so you ruined both our days?
I have a moral obligation to do it, because if I don't do it, then I'm not a good friend.
It's true. I really do appreciate that.
Because you're like, oh, my friend's thinking of me. He sent me the worst photograph in existence.
You sent it to me. You just sent it again. text message
I hate
history.
it.
I'm sure like every 10 photos.
Oh, it's like 16 copies of that one photo.
I forgot he's wearing it.
He's wearing a tie as well.
It's the worst. Shoes. Why is he doing this? Okay, have you seen the other one from this photo shoot?
Yes, I think you sent it to me.
I did. He's reading fan mail, by the way.
Anyway, this man that you so crave in your deep in your loins becomes president in 1980.
That whatever's happened just closed up. My loins just closed the gates. never gonna let anyone in again. Reagan?
Yeah.
I'm yelling in a hotel. It's okay.
It's okay.
I'm gonna calm down.
Reagan famously hated government and loved being a piece of racist garbage.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
I loved it.
And even a month after his inauguration, when John Hinckley sadly couldn't get the job done, Reagan was able to do all of his bullshit buffoonery that he called a political platform.
Missed opportunity, John. Oh.
He tried.
I was going to say, did those sweatpants whisper things in his ear, do you think? The sweatpants, are the sweatpants like, repeal this, like, close all the mental health institutions.
Yes. Call Margaret right now and ask her what she thinks of this.
Ask Margaret what she's wearing.
Space Star Wars. We must engage in Star Wars.
And if he doesn't do what the pants say, then they try to strangle him. I don't know.
Iran-Contra never happened. I don't know why that's his pants voice.
Voldemort?
Blame it on Oliver. Oliver North is the one. He must be your fall guy. Ronald Reagan's sweatpants are possessed by the devil. No, you know why I don't like that? Because that absolves him of responsibility. Because we're blaming the pants. He did it. Yeah. He's the one yelling at the pants. The pants are like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this.
Hey, everything of having a soul. And Ronald Reagan's like, I hate everybody.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing. That does absolve him, which is why those pants didn't talk like that, because he's in hell right now and he earned that. He earned being in hell.
Those pants, they're like, they were the victim. The pants were like, I didn't ask to be put on this man's body.
Begging to be taken off. Please, Ronnie.
Man, this went in a direction that I did not expect, but I love it.
I'm back, baby. The pants just weeping and sobbing. Please. Ronnie! Nancy, please, Nancy, please. Okay, continue.
Okay. Ronald Reagan, not a good guy.
No.
Seriously, most problems we have today begin with the election of this man. All the boomers who self-aggrandized all that hippie bullshit became hardcore capitalist yuppies at this time, and much like today, deferred to the free market and trickle-down economics, which does not work.
Never has, never will.
Never. And they were perfectly fine letting the world burn so long as they could have their Coke parties and jazzercise tapes.
And their money, jazzercise tapes. And no, it's true. I had some old dude try to explain why Reagan was the best president, and I just left.
I hope you pushed him down the stairs. Don't do that.
My friend's dad.
I don't know, maybe. Listen, I'm still mad about the absolute grift we call neoliberalism. And sorry, you people aren't heroes. You're cowards who can't own up to the difficulties of running a republic. Cool.
When it comes down to it, you are a Republican.
Girl
power.
By the way, when I got to this section of it, I was like, I need to cut back all of the anger of this script that I was writing. I had to edit it. Yeah.
I'm just stoking it. Like, here, more.
No. I'm saying I had written a bunch, and I was like, I'm getting a bit off topic. I was like, I probably should scale this back to whatever the actual tab is.
But it's neoliberalism is a curse.
Not great. Anyway, this is the one political episode that we get to do. That's fine. I don't think my politics are particularly like hidden and like confusing. I think you know where it is. Anyway,
pretty obvious.
Reagan comes in and he's like, "Oh, I have brain rot," and all of his money-loving cronies are like, "OMG, he's just like us."
Oh, circle jerk brain rot.
Yeah, and since Reagan was an actor and a hollow shell of a human being who needed someone to direct him at all times, he let the worst possible people fill in for some of the most important roles of government.
Yes, and his wife would do astrology every day, and that's how he made decisions sometimes. Perfect. No joke. Not even kidding.
No grift there. One such person who was terrible was a man named Mark S. Fowler, whom he appointed as commissioner of the FCC. Now, Fowler,
Fowler.
Fowler, he didn't just have sex with chickens, as his name suggests.
actors don't think that's what a Fowler was, but for the sake of the podcast, yes.
He also did many different things.
He had sex with roosters?
I assume so.
Pigs?
Listen, this is hearsay. I should clarify so I don't get arrested for slander. He did many different things, but as it pertains to this tab, he did our favorite thing that we love. Mm-hmm. And he comes in and he's like, oh, this is a First Amendment issue. Businesses need to express their rights about radicalizing your children by making them consumers of the military-industrial complex.
This is the guy?
This is where it starts.
Where he gives corporations... Oh, okay.
This is all under Reagan. This is all what happens. So Fowler... Yeah, right. I was like, you're going to get annoyed.
No. I'm actually angry now. Like, that's ruined everything. Everything. Seriously, literally everything. My dad lost a job all the times.
Yep.
My childhood was dictated by this.
Yep. Okay. So Fowler comes in and he starts to slash regulations left and right. And it takes a little bit of time. But then on September 25th, 1983, what happened on September 25th?
5 months?
I was like 4 months old, basically.
Cute.
I was a 4-month-old. But on September 25th, 1983, Pac-Man makes his cartoon show debut.
Really?
Yep.
Your bunny.
So Pac-Man, as you know, is a video game property, which means his mere existence as a character in the space is meant to advertise for another thing.
Right.
Right? So up until this point, that wasn't allowed. Everything had to be like an original new thing. So from this moment forward, the impact of deregulation on children's programming it enters this new space that's like totally unprecedented. Cultural historian
falling into place now.
This is all going to come into place, right? So cultural historian Tom Engelhart noted that between 1984 and 85, cartoons featuring licensed characters increased by some 300%.
No. Oh.
Additionally, it completely changed the way that cartoons were developed. So in most cases, the toy was developed first, and then the animated program was then used to promote the line of toys. This was not the standard before this.
But
this is when it starts.
It was that cut and dry. Like, okay, toys, show. I thought it was kind of like, oh, look what's happening. Cool. No, they did this on purpose.
No. They basically reverse engineered it. So they're like, okay, here's the toy line, and now we're going to write a TV show based around that. So cartoons literally became ads for the toys of the 1980s. Furthermore, some broadcasters were enticed to schedule these toy TV shows in exchange for a part of the profit on toy sales. So they were literal partners on the actual cartoon as well. And
so like Marvel and the U.S. military kind of thing?
That's the thing we'll get into, but not quite like the U.S. military in that sense, but shows like He-Man and Masters of the Universe and Transformers became these behemoths that still carry cultural relevance to this day. But
and those toys are still like collectible.
Oh yeah. That's sort of I'll get to that. So no one did this better than good old G.I. Joe.
Oh, what's a body massage? Have you seen those? Hey kid, I'm a computer. Stop all the downloading. Okay, continue.
Besides being a straight up recruitment tool for kids, G.I. Joe.
Jeez.
I mean, it's true. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. That's literally, that was propaganda. G.I. Joe would release more than 250 different vehicles and playsets and 163 different action figures over the show's tenure. And a typical episode would focus on a specific new character or vehicle that would be released for purchase soon. Then they would cut to commercial. And what would the commercials be?
G.I. Joe.
It would be the same action figure and vehicle that was mentioned in the episode.
Oh my God. I'm laughing, but this is so scary.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
It would literally be like, hey, here's, I don't know.
Ronald Reagan.
Billy Bob,
the G.I. Joe getting his head blown off in Vietnam.
I was trying to think of, Billy Bog the assassin, or like Billy Bob the sniper.
Billy Bog? You just said Billy Bog. Sorry, I couldn't shut up when you said he's getting up. He's walking around. Billy Bog. Okay, full circle. The podcast is over. This is the last episode.
He's like, it's Billy Bog, the sniper from the bog. And he comes in like his own like secret, like whatever, like alligator boat, like Joe Alligator boat, right? And they'd be like, that's the character in the episode. And then they'd be like, now we cut to like the commercial messages, and it would show you the toy of Billy Bog with the alligator. So they had this thing where like you had to specifically mention in every episode whatever the name of the toy was.
Billy Bog. I want that toy. Discord, you know what to do.
You know what to do.
You know what to do.
So,
Continue.
you know, from a business point of view, it was like, truth, if you're like,
Genius.
it's masterful. It's just no other way of putting it.
Yeah. It's almost too good.
It's too good. Yeah. But from a not wanting to die point of view, it was awful.
Yeah. Yeah. As a woman and growing up as a girl, I was didn't see much of that because I wasn't told from a young age that I would have to enroll to fight someday.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was different for you in seeing all these like army dudes. Did you ever feel like, I want to fight for the U.S.
You know,
government?
What's funny? This is why it's great having immigrant parents. My mom was just like, this is recruitment bullshit. You're not watching this. My mom was like, absolutely not. My mom didn't let me watch G.I. Joe. She was like, nope. She didn't care. Good. She like a lot of stuff. She was like, yeah, whatever, like watch this. But she was like, they came from Iran. They're like, this is propaganda. Like we know, let's call a spade a spade.
Well, they know who those GIs are fighting. That's the thing. It's like, oh, they're fighting.
But just in general, also my dad also just vehemently like, absolutely not. Like it was probably the one time that my dad was like, no, this is terrible. Like we don't like army stuff. Like we know what this is.
Right. We don't.
But like
we're
to your point,
family.
They're like, who do you think they're trying to kill in this? And this is Iran in the 80s too. Like
it's like the enemy in every movie is Iranians.
Exactly.
Like G.I. Joe's going over there in what cool car, just shooting. You know.
Yeah, that's a gap in my childhood, though. I didn't watch G.I. Joe. I didn't have any G.I. Joe toys or anything.
Thank goodness. I've always wondered, like, as a young man, like what that felt like to be told to die for your country.
I mean, look, if people want to be in the military, that's totally fine. I think the idea of like doing it that young and in these cartoons, and then also it's
crazy.
I wouldn't call it war profiteering, but like it feels like that in a weird way of like the propaganda part of it, and then also making money off of it from like young children. Like, it all feels very disgusting to me.
It does, yeah.
It seems very like this should be. It trivializes it in a way. It makes it seem like it's not serious almost.
Right. Which is what they want.
Which is what they want. So in total, there were 95 G.I. Joe episodes, which each episode pimped out about 4 new products per episode.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it gets better. It wasn't just Saturday morning cartoons. Junk food and cereal got all insane and cartoony and aimed at kids as well.
This. Yep.
Yeah, that all starts here. And most famously, your boy, Joe Camel. Joe Camel starts as a result of this.
My boy. Yeah. Ludlow Street, your boy, Joe Camel.
Famously arrested in the Ludlow Street prison.
They start selling cigarettes to teenagers. Yeah.
That's basically where it's basically like the cartoon thing is just like, blurp, none of it matters. Everything's fine. You can do whatever you want. And so like, they're like, cool. Because obviously the founding fathers definitely developed the First Amendment so we could more cleverly sell cigarettes to undeveloped brains. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Reagan. Great.
Thanks, Washington.
Thanks, sweatpants. Actually, no, the sweatpants, like we said, are the voice of reason here.
Yeah, they're the ones trying to stop it. If those sweatpants hadn't existed, horrible things could have happened. Horrible. Thanks, sweatpants.
Thanks, sweatpants. So you're probably wondering, where the hell is ACT during all of this, right? Because they were like doing plenty of stuff in the 60s and 70s. They're trying, man.
Oh.
But essentially, since their regulations didn't involve like demonizing black people or ignoring AIDS, the Reagan administration was absolutely not interested in what they were doing.
Well, I think that was one of those realizations for me. I think I was in high school. I watched that movie. It had Ian McKellen was in it as a person who interviewed about the AIDS crisis.
About the Reagan administration being like, and we don't give a shit. We don't give a shit.
In my class, just like completely, my mind completely blown.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? They didn't talk about it.
No, they're just not interested.
Millions died. Anyway, it's a whole thing. Go read about it.
Yeah. What's the anyway?
You want to cry?
Yeah. No, there's not a lot of great things that happen at this period. Anyway, so because it wasn't because of those things, they're like, no thanks. But these poor bastards at ACT, they did the best they could. They got a few minor victories, but honestly, it's just there's too much. They're just getting inundated because it's happening everywhere. so many things are happening at the same time across like television and right. They're just sort of like, it's kind of like, it's not the same, but it's like if you're essentially being buried in paperwork, right? Like there's too many for them to actually address. And they're like, okay, we have to sort of rethink our entire strategy.
I'm picturing Helm's Deep for some reason.
Yeah, right. It's kind of what it is.
Run with orcs. It's like from every side. I don't know.
Too many fires, too many enemies.
Gandalf? Speaking of Ian McKellen, get
Seriously,
in here.
He could have came in and saved all of this.
Yeah.
But they did manage to get Congress involved, and they slapped together a very good bipartisan bill. The bill would have limited advertising during children's programming to 10.5 minutes an hour on weekends and 12 minutes an hour on weekdays. And it would have also required broadcasters to provide educational and informational programs for children as a condition of license renewal, right?
You did say would have. I heard you say this
in 1988, the House of Representatives passed the measure 328 to 78.
Oh my gosh.
But guess what happened?
Oh, is it Reagan? It was
Reagan vetoed it.
Oh, cool. What a dick. He is ruined. Okay. I can't.
First Amendment, man.
I want to ruin kids' lives. I want everybody dead. There are still so many things that are ripples from his era. Not everyone's like, oh, the homeless people, they're crazy. It's like, yeah, because he literally wouldn't let anybody go to the hospital. He closed all of the hospitals, all the mental health hospitals that you could just walk into, completely gone.
Yeah.
Sorry, crack epidemic. It's fine.
But never mind him, though, because eventually ACT was able to codify that shit into law. And in October 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed the Children's Television Act.
Okay.
An act of Congress ordering the FCC to implement regulations surrounding programming that serves the educational and informational needs of children, as well as the amount of advertising broadcast during television programs aimed towards kids. So they did get their 10.5 weekend and 12-minute weekday limits.
Okay.
The airing of advertising during children's programs of products associated with the program currently airing was prohibited. So the G.I. Joe model was scrapped. You couldn't do that anymore.
Good.
And when airing children's programming, broadcasters were also encouraged to establish a clear separation between the program and advertising. So basically, and now a message from our sponsor or whatever. So they could just, so basically all that stuff got codified into law.
That's good.
And a lot of stuff had been back and forth with the FCC and networks, but now it was official. But it seemed like it wasn't super enforced. So that battle continues into the Clinton, into the W years. It goes on. And it's too much for this tab. But the main thing you need to know in terms of closure is that after this, the Children's Television Act being passed, the Action for Children's Television, which is the committee, is dissolved. They're basically like, they're like, that's it. Like, that's all we can do. There's so much more. It was just too crazy.
We need them again.
We need them again. But the story does have a happy ending.
Oh, okay.
On June 5th, 2004, Ronald Reagan fucking died, and it was awesome. The end.
Thank goodness. Hell gained another angel, another beautiful, horrible fallen. What am I talking about? I hate that man so much.
I know. Here are my thoughts on this. There's some piss for sure. My thought about this was, this is my video essay, like, thesis on top of this. This is not like tab stuff that I had read, but I think it's really interesting as I was reading about this because I'm a little bit older than you, obviously, but I'm a product of this. Like, we are the first generation of kids who have become adults in that paradigm.
I was going to ask, what were your experiences with this? Like,
yeah, like I was I'm like a Ninja Turtle head. I was like obsessed with them. I like bought all the toys. I watched Masters of the Universe. I watched most of those cartoons, and I was a crazy consumer as a kid.
Yeah, same.
I mean, as much as I could be anyway.
Wanted to be, yeah.
But it's interesting to me to think that, like, before this, kids were not attached to toys and nostalgia cycles and have them connected to television shows in the same way. The idea that, do you know what I'm saying?
They're doing it again, like the nostalgia thing, and it's just coming all
well. So the nostalgia thing could not exist prior to our generation.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, boomers aren't being like, oh, Gilligan's Island toys, let's go buy them again.
Right.
But it's like with us, it's like, look at this limited edition Lego of the Ninja Turtles Underground, whatever.
Exactly.
For $70.
And that entire, and so I feel, you know, I have complicated feelings about this because on some level it's like, well, we go to conventions and like half of conventions are just based on the idea of like, here's this thing we all loved as kids. And here are these toys that were like deeply important to us. And now we're adults and we're trying to like buy whatever, the $150, like the $300 like Krang statue, because that was just embedded in us from the time we were like 5, 6 years old.
Well, and like, it's art too. That's the hard thing. It's just like, these are works of art.
And works of art,
Ninja Turtles was awesome. Have you read the comic books? Awesome.
I love them. Yeah. I read all of that. I was into all that stuff.
That's I haven't seen the show, but I've read the comics. It doesn't make sense.
That's cool.
But yeah, so I can see how the complicated feelings come from, because it's like, yes, these were influential on your creative mind and everything, but at what cost? You know.
But you can also argue that like half this industry, like the size that it's reached, right? The level of like film and TV and like even these conventions and like the billions and billions of dollars that have essentially become as a result of it, like come from the fact that we were all basically brainwashed by like advertisers from when we were kids. Right. Like, and we had no say, like parents didn't have any say unless you physically sat down and were like, you can't watch this or you can watch this.
Right.
Effectively. So I don't know. It's complicated. I don't quite know how to feel about it. I think I was just sort of working through this as I was thinking about it. But one guy comes in and he just deregulates the FCC, and you think that like cartoons are just like, right now I love it. And people could probably be like, oh, it's just cartoons, like whatever. It's not a big deal, but it's,
we all know better than that. Like going to conventions really was like my eye opening, like, oh, this art means a lot to everybody here.
Yeah.
Art that I don't usually consume. Like I keep using Ninja Turtles, but that's a good example of like something I missed, but like means a lot to everybody. I had a thought.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? You know how boomers, like, I wonder if our generation, actually, one of the benefits of this is that we do have more critical thinking skills than earlier generations, because we were seeing so much like an influx of stuff.
Yeah.
That if we play our cards right, we'll understand, like, you know, we can filter out some of that BS. Whereas like my boomer people are like, oh yeah, I'll believe literally anything because it's on the internet. If it's on the TV, it must be trustworthy, you know, like, I wonder if that has anything to do with this. Like maybe the one silver lining of this, besides having some great art, is all these commercials were just such an onslaught that we kind of learned to filter some stuff out. I don't know. That's a thought I had.
Not entirely sure, but I did think it was interesting that like this directly led to, you know, the culture that the culture that we, not just like toys when we were kids. It's like these seeds were planted, and like we are the full growth of that plant.
And we're just like perpetuating it forever and ever.
And it all comes back to like a guy becoming president and deregulating something because he thought that it had to do with the First Amendment for some reason. Anyway, elections,
stupid ripple effect.
It's so like, dumb, and I hate it. Anyway, that's my tab.
Reagan.
Rest in piss, Reagan.
That was a great one. I didn't know that there was like, it was so cut and dry. Like I said, like this was a very deliberate thing they did.
Yeah.
And
I don't think anyone was thinking about it. I think they were just like, well, it's going to make us the most amount of money. They're not necessarily thinking about like the way that it shaped culture as a result of it.
Or brains. Like back then, it was like, even like now people are like, oh yeah, kids can't form memories of this and this. It's like, yes, they can. They can make deep associations from a very young age. And we didn't understand it, or at least no one wanted to understand it back then. Kids were just kind of other adults that were dumber and smaller.
Yeah.
Kids were future spenders is how they saw it.
Also, when they complain about us being like, oh, you're so fixated on this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's your fault. You guys did it. You basically trained us from a young age to want to be consumers and buy figures, and we're doing it well into our adulthood.
Same with trophies.
Keep the oh yeah, that's the whole thing. But we're here.
You gave us the trophies, the participation trophies.
We're buying toys to keep the economy afloat so that you can keep cashing Social Security checks and staying alive with your Medi-Cal and Medicare.
Like you taught us. No, it's an insane. That's crazy. That's got me thinking. I'm angry at Reagan again, as always.
As you should be. Never stop being angry.
I feel brainwashed and duped.
Yep.
But interesting.
Anyway,
fascinating.
That's my tab.
All right.
That's
Thank
my
you.
tab. I should say
one.
It was a Freedium article by Jamie Logie. The Great Marketing Deregulation is the article that I pulled from, which of course I'll link to in the notes.
I have my citations. Just a second. I forgot to say it at the beginning. The actual tab that I did was called Notorious Victoria, first woman to run for U.S. president. And it's from The Guardian, and it's written by Eileen Horn. Wrote this for The Guardian and Notorious Victoria. It's a long read, but it's good.
I also found an article from Animation World Network. It's Dr. Toon when Reagan met Optimus Prime.
Did Optimus Prime smash his head?
Yeah, basically. Anyway, I think it's time to close our tabs. How would you like to do it? Should it be about sweatpants ripping in half or?
Yeah. No, can we wait, hold on.
The stretch of elastic.
I kind of like the idea. I kind of like the idea of Optimus Prime crushing Ronald Reagan.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that.
Would do that.
That's a copyright issue, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You just have a truck running into a man that's screaming and just in our minds know that that's Optimus Prime. Yeah, Reagan.
Or we could have the sound of a grave being filled on top of Ronald Reagan's dead body.
Okay, so we have a truck hitting a man and then a body going direct. This is a lot for Alyssa, but however much of that you'd like to do, Alyssa.
Stop. Something to do with Reagan dying, even just rolling him into a grave, you know?
Yeah, Billy Bog. Okay, you want to count us down?
Billy Bog Thornton. Yeah, I'll count us down.
Okay, go for it.
3, 2. I don't even have my tabs open. Just a second. I got to go back to Safari. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Close those tabs. Bury Reagan in the cold, dead earth.
In the bog. Moving on to listener emails. You want to go first?
I'll go first, yeah.
Okay.
I picked a kind of an election-themed one. Hi, Kaveh and Hannah. I hope you and your listeners are doing great. 2024 is a very big year in regards to election. Oh, this person is from Canada. 2024 is a big year in regard to elections, as according to Reuters, countries representing almost half of the world's population will be called to the polls. That kind of blew my mind.
Damn.
Although democracy is still a faint illusion in too many countries, and politics seems to have never been so divisive, we made great progress in regarding of voting rights if we look back in the past. And this is what my tab is about. The elections during Canada's humble beginnings. More specifically, I'd like to talk about what it would have been like to vote in the first half of the 19th century. First of all, people voted orally.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
I'm a garbage person. I'm horrible. Okay, Woodhull. Which is to say that everyone knew for whom you cast your vote. Votes and names were also written down in a document exacerbating corruption, intimidation, and retaliation. Furthermore, polling stations were closed when an hour had passed without any voters showing up.
Oh.
This meant that since everyone knew the results in real time, candidates would hire goons to allow their supporters to vote and then bar the way to the polling stations for an hour for a guaranteed win. Finally, unlimited free alcohol was supplied to the voters, which often led to riots. With such a tasteful cocktail, needless to say, that it was a shit show. Forgive my French, they said. Before 1867, year of the creation of the Canadian Confederation, at least 20 people had been killed throughout Canada while trying to vote.
Wow.
There's a lovely quote in my tab depicting a fight that occurred in Montreal in 1820 that I'd like to share with you. Quote, passions ran so high that a terrible fight broke out. Punches and every other offensive and defensive tactic were employed. In the blink of an eye, table legs were turned into swords and the rest into shields. The combatants unceremoniously went for each other's nose, hair, and other handy parts, pulling at them mercilessly. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
The faces of many and the bodies of nearly all attested to the doggedness of the fighting. I wish free alcohol was still served at the polling stations, but overall, I'm glad things have changed. We may not be legioned who are listening to your podcast yet, but we are keeping it Josie, and this is something you can be proud of. Cheers, everyone. I wish you the best. Your friend from the North.
Oh, this person's anonymous, huh? No name. Your friend from the North. It sounds like a Game of Thrones character.
Yeah, it does. It's Ned Stark.
Well, thank you, friend from the North. That was an excellent tab.
No idea that Canada had drunken riots at every election.
Tracks.
Awesome.
Email number 2. Hello, Hannah and Kaveh. My name is Sam, and I'm a union organizer in Washington, D.C. My tab for y'all is on the disputed history of the unofficial mascot of the union movement, Scabby the Rat.
My hero.
I know you would love it.
I love rats.
Bonus that this is from the strike paper in Pittsburgh. Josie Darity forever, as in like solidarity, but with Josie.
Yeah.
Sam. So I went, and it's a quick email, but I scrubbed through the article as well. I read through it. I'm going to send you some of the pictures.
Okay.
Because they're very fun. So this is and we'll put them up on screen. So in 1989, at the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 150, newly hired organizer Jim Sweeney searched ways to amplify his union's protests at work sites, employing non-union labor. He started by drawing cartoon rats on protest signs, and it worked. People noticed.
This is insane. It's like a blow-up rat that says, "This rat's not for you." And everyone's posing.
So that's like the evolution of it now. So it starts as drawing rats on protest signs. Seizing on that success, Sweeney asked a stagehand union member who created costumes to make a rat suit. Soon, man-sized rats walked the sidewalks at local 150 protest site. This proved an effective form of street theater, but a problem soon developed. After several uses in the summer heat, the heavy rat suits reeked. Cleaning them proved difficult.
They ate a bunch of garbage like regular rats. It was insane.
Yeah. And then here's another like random blow up one, which I think is really funny.
Oh, I love this.
Eventually, it leads to the creation of the Ratmobile after Sweeney saw an inflatable gorilla, and they formed the Rat Patrol. Check this shit out. You should describe that last one.
It's way trashier than I thought it would be. It's like what looks like a decommissioned taxi cab that says Rat Patrol on it. And on top is a blow up rat sitting on the and look, there's a local 150. Yeah, this is like
I would love to drive that thing. It's awesome.
I want this car. I would use this as a regular car.
Yeah, you would.
Rat Patrol? Oh my goodness.
Hell yeah. Anyway, we'll link the article into the show notes, but it's a good read. It's worth flipping through. It's really good. Thank you, Sam.
Do you remember when we were in New York a week ago and we saw like 50 rats all gathered together?
Yes, on the live stream on YouTube. If you haven't watched it, it was like a huge family of rats.
There were so many, and they all scrambled. Yeah, and it was one of the weirdest, most New York moments I've ever had. That was in the
middle of you, like on the verge of exploding because you had to piss so bad.
So this dude right here, Kave, almost made me pee my pants from being an idiot and laughing. You can watch me freak out.
I'm sorry I brought you joy.
I'm sorry you're funny. There was a moment where I was begging him to stop being funny because I was going to pee my pants. So watch the live stream. It's insane. Or don't. Whatever. I don't care. But we followed around the city and did New York things, saw rats, peed our pants. It was great.
Anyway, also, if you have a listener email that you'd like to send us, please send it to 500opentabs@gmail.com. That's 500. Send us your tab, let us know what you learned about it, and tell us where you're from. Additionally, we still love voice memos. If you want to send one of those, try to keep it to around a minute. If it goes over a minute, it's not the end of the world. But share with us other stuff that you think is interesting, because we love reading about it and we love sharing it on the show.
And if you want to be able to like share right after you listen, you can go on our Discord, and there's a really fun community being built up there. We're almost to 200 people, so join.
Very active.
Very
extremely active for the size of the Discord.
It turns out we're just all the same. Yeah, that's the cool thing. It's like a bunch of versions of us. But there's art, there's crafting, there's a lot of cool different tabs that you can go look at, and also the Patreon is kind of getting up and going. Like I've been posting stuff twice a week. All the cut footage from every episode that I deem worthy will go up onto there, because there's a lot of pointless stuff. Of course, it's us. Patreon's got a lot of fun stuff, extras if you want to go over there. And you can follow me. Oh, no, you can follow us at 500 Open Tabs on Instagram.
Yeah, and also on Twitter a little bit.
Oh, and on Twitter, yeah.
Additionally, if you want to follow you can go ahead and mention that too. I was going to say, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at PermaFriends. I'm also somewhat on Blue Sky, just as Covetarian if you look me up. Sometimes I'm on Twitter, but not really anymore.
Guy's got some good books on his website.
I also, we talked a lot about your books for the past 2 months.
I'm sorry.
I always forget. Honestly, I was just like, well, I don't want to overshadow Hannah's book. She's talking about her book.
What?
It's not a competition. I was like,
it's over.
I have a book. Wait, just listen. I got a bunch of books. If you guys are looking for gifts, it's November now. Christmas is coming. I should say the holiday season is coming. Mm-hmm. So whatever you celebrate in December, if you're looking for gifts, Hannah and I both have books. They're both, all of our books are funny. They're goofy. Yep. They're fun drawings.
And you've got books for all ages too. That's the other thing you don't mention.
I do have books for all ages.
Like,
yeah.
If you have like a 13-year-old who's really into graphic novels, the Perma-Friends series, I gave it to my nephew. It went over great. It was great.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Also, they're just good books for everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Also, we started this episode saying that the election was yesterday. Mm-hmm. However this turns out, we have no idea. We don't know at the time of recording how it's going to go. I imagine that at the time of the release, we still don't really know how it's going to turn out.
If it's like other years, then we don't really know.
I just wanted to remind people that, like, in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other.
Be excellent to each other.
Just be excellent to each other. That's all that matters at the end of the day. We're going to be tempted to be terrible and just be excellent to each other. Yeah.
How you want to be treated.
It's a terrible time. Everyone's stressed out. Just be cool. Just try your best. Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Literally all you have to do. Look, I'm always wanting to be a dick, but we just need to step it back.
Step back.
Be kind to each other. Unless they're trying to take your rights away, then you can be mean.
Yeah, don't be kind to those people. Those aren't that's not what I'm talking about.
Fight.
That's understood.
Fight.
Yes.
Yeah. But some people will take it as like, okay, I'm just gonna fight the bad guys.
Yeah. Yes.
But
thank you for clarifying this. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to be nice to bad people. Yeah.
Look,
I'm not like, oh, so much for the tolerant left who are punching Nazis in the face. No, nothing like that.
So
don't be nice to Nazis. That's not what we're talking about here. Yes.
Yeah. Go punch a Nazi. I don't know.
Wow. Advocating violence, Hannah.
I am.
Anyway, the point was to say, be excellent to each other.
Yes.
These are tough times. We're all on edge. We're going to be stressed out. I'm freaking out right now. I'm saying this as if I'm not like pacing around like a crazy person in my apartment.
If I don't distract myself, all I do is think about this election.
Yeah. I'm going to try to be excellent to the people around me whom I love and to make sure that they're happy as best as I can.
Same.
And with that, we'll see you guys at the shitting wall next week.
See you at the shitting wall. Oh, Secondus Nixon.
Godspeed, friends.
Godspeed. Godspeed. I love a dumb surprise Nixon. Surprise Nixon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.